As we were on our way home after worship this past Sunday, Andrea and I were discussing We the Seeds, which is just a cheesy title that I gave Sunday's sermon, during which I asked us to consider ourselves to be the seed that is cast by Jesus, the sower. This is the sermon during which I reminded us that while we want to be sowed into the so-called good soil, the sower sows wherever and everywhere. On the path, in the weeds, in rocky soil. And we will at times feel like we are being trampled on and choked out and even eaten by a bird, perhaps waiting to be pooped out. Andrea was doing some late Sunday morning quarterbacking of my sermon. She said, I really thought you were going to remind us that we have been scattered into this world in our various jobs and professions, and this is where we are called to be the seeds of God's Word, even if these places seem like the last place God's Word would grow and flourish. And I thought, wow, that's really good. Why didn't I say that? This is such a Lutheran way of thinking. This is vocation. How could I preach we the seeds and not even utter the word vocation? And hence I am writing this epilogue to Sunday's We the Seeds. What is it exactly that you do for a living? And now here is where I give you this obligatory list of where I intentionally include vocations of those at First Lutheran, and my apologies if I forget yours. Teacher, truck driver, nurse, electrician, occupational therapist, retail worker, lawyer, small business owner, engineer, administrative assistant, business professional, child care worker, administrator, electrician, mechanic, corrections officer, factory worker, farmer, military, first responder, and the list goes on. And of course, we have just a couple retired members of First Lutheran, don't we? What do you spend retirement doing? Golfing? Playing card games? Traveling? Spending time with your family and your friends? Maybe you're on the board or council of a nonprofit. Do you share your gifts with First Lutheran or another nonprofit? Maybe you still work part-time somewhere or do other retired stuff, whatever that is, whatever that may be. Being retired, though, is most certainly a vocation, isn't it? And what about youth? What about our youth? Don't they have vocations? I mean, they're students. But they also have to navigate social media now and all their young friendships and their relationships. They're in athletics, they're in scouts, they're in 4-H and all the clubs. They're in music and the arts. Being a kid, a preteen, a teenager, a college student, these are all vocations. The sower, Jesus Christ, has cast us into these vocations. We are called to proclaim the word in these vocations. And this is where it gets tricky. Here is where your vocation is much more nuanced than mine. You see, my vocation is to proclaim the word of God and, some other stuff in a very real sense. But for you, if you just went out proclaiming Jesus Christ to customers and coworkers, how long would you have that job? Or do your golfing buddies really want to hear about Jesus in between swings of the club? Or would you have to go find new golfing buddies after a while? Like I said, your job is way harder than mine. Remember, I spent 15 years on your side of the things as an engineer and a factory manager, and I've been golfing a time or two. This is hard to do. So, how do we do it? In our vocations, we are called to be Christ to the neighbor. Not for personal gain, not to earn any kind of salvation, not to get a tally mark on the good side of the cosmic ledger. We know that Jesus Christ, through his life, death, and resurrection, did all the work that needs to be done. And that frees us to live our lives in our vocations where we have been scattered and simply be Christ to our neighbor. Allow me to give you one small example from this week. My mom had open heart surgery, and it was an anxiety-ridden day for me and my entire family. The hospital, I think for good reasons, has a 2-visitor policy in the pre-op room. And after being there for a while with my dad, I started to leave the room to switch out with my brother. But the patient care assistant, who happened to be in the room, noticed and asked, "Is there just one more of you?" I said, "Yes, my brother. Just go get him and come back." You see, she allowed gospel in allowing all of us to be in that room with my mom, to win out over law, which was that 2-visitor policy. And this was a Christ-like act. We can all do this in our vocations, can't we? I know it may feel at times like we are scattered in places where nothing will ever grow. It may feel like we're being trampled and choked out. It may even feel like, and trust me, I've been here, we are in the digestive tract of a bird and we are just praying to be pooped out so we can be planted somewhere else. But in each and every one of our vocations, wherever it is that we have been sowed by the sower, the call is to be Christ to the neighbor. And we, like that patient care assistant, can be the living gospel. We can be the living word of Jesus Christ.